Please welcome to the stage, Kunal Desai.
Fuck. I blew up my account again. 2 years I've been clean and sober from account blowups. I fucking did it again. I'd been doing the right thing, studying. I had thought that I put together an awesome process. And here I was, faced with the deacon of death once more. I'd blown up my account and fallen back into my old habits. It was so close. I had literally felt the riches and everything that I wanted my whole life right in front of me. For 2 years, I had been trading so good. And then I threw it all away in one bad trade, one bad disaster that essentially changed my life because I was out of the game at that point. You blow up your account, it's not just a monetary loss, it's a loss of pride. It's a shame. You know, I let down myself. I blew all my resources, but let down my family. People that were depending on me. And that shame, it holds deep because you're not always just at these conferences or trading for yourself, right? You're doing it for your parents who struggle to put you through school, and brothers and sisters and your community. And I let it all go. I was out of the game. So now the deacon of death is at my doorstep. What do I do? Do I give up, find a job, do something else? Or do I whip my pants down and piss on his leg and say, it's time to make a Britney Spears type comeback? So I've made comebacks before. We all do it, right? You blow up your account, or you fail in business or in life or in relationship, you make the comeback. And most of the time what do? You come back, you put a smile on your face, you have a good attitude, and you're like, wow, I've got a good attitude, I'm smiling, I'm happy, so therefore I'm going to make a comeback. Things have changed. But that doesn't make real change. You know, that I had done that before. It lasts for 2-3 days. You smile, you wake up early, you exercise, you stop drinking, and then guess what happens? You are faced with the same situation again. So I was at a crossroads in my life. Was I really going to do this? Was I going to become the successful person that I had envisioned in my head, that my mom always said I was? Or was I just going to be another trading statistic? Somebody that, hey, coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? 10 years later. I got in that trading game. It's a scam. Nobody wins. I couldn't live like that. I couldn't do it. This was my passion. Sure, I could have gotten a job. I'm a pretty smart guy sometimes. I could have gotten a job and done well doing something. But trading is your passion. It's in your blood. A life without passion is a slow, painful death. So guess what you have to do? I make the comeback, but this time I have to do it different. Something has to change. I need a real game plan, a business plan for how I'm going to fulfill my life's purpose. So rather than refilling my account, which I couldn't at the time anyways, I took some time off. That's a huge part when you blow up your account. It's so easy to borrow some money, use your credit card, get back in the game because you want to make your money back. But that's not going to lead to any changes. I had to sit there and take time off. Months and months to think about it. But I did not look at stocks. Instead, I spent more time thinking about what is my purpose in life. Was I trading just to get some cars, hoes, cocaine, boats, all that stuff? Or was there something deeper in there that I wanted to do for myself? And it was. And so I sat there mapping out what my next move was. And so I used these tenets to get back in the game and propel me to the next level. So the first thing after I took some time off, right, I sat around and I wrote down my purpose statement. What am I doing this for? Right, that purpose statement, having a purpose and a why, it roots you back into everything that you need to do. So that when you're over trading or struggling, or you're working so hard and you're not seeing any results, that why can lift you up and make you better. How can a man work harder than he thinks he can because of his why? How can he last longer and be better than whatever he thought was possible because of that why, that purpose? And so coming down and doing that, it reinvigorated me. There's nothing more dangerous in the world than a man with a purpose, because that man will do anything to get what he wants. He cannot be broken. And that's where I started off. thing that I always came back to. You know, I had a setup that I tried, and I always blew up on that thing. You know, bottom fishing cheap stocks. I find some stock at 50 bucks, it gets to $5, $6, whatever. I start adding, and you know the story. You go on margin, you start over trading, you can't cut it. I mean, it's got to bounce at some point. You add, and then all your work is gone. But beyond that, that's just a setup, right? I mean, for me, okay, easy enough. That's a setup. Rather than trying to get better at it, see, I spent so much time learning it. Instead, I said, you know what? There are setups that I just suck at. I'm just going to cut them out. Because in trading, taking your weaknesses and becoming okay at it doesn't work. You are playing against the smartest people in the history of the world. The smartest, richest, and most fucking crooked people in the world. You cannot be a generalist in trading. So working on that setup and getting better at it would do me no good. I had to cut it out like a cancer. But even worse than that, how I got into these messes was not just this setup. There are things that trigger you wanting to get in those setups and adding more and more and more and more. I had triggers, things that would set me off, that would cause me to revenge trade, that would cause me to dive into these stocks and make these psychological mistakes. For me, I had some poisonous relationships. Friends that just pissed me off, that were cancers, girls, whatever. Everybody has that. And those things in my personal life would manifest themselves in my trading. You know, if you're an anxious person, you're going to be an anxious trader. And if you're a habitually late person, guess what? That's going to show up in your trading. If you're a huge fucking dick, that will show up in your trading. And so I had to cut out these poisonous things in my life. Because those things would piss me off at home. And then I'd be at that computer and I would be jamming those keyboards like a madman. What? What did that stock do to me? It wasn't that stock, right? It was the things that was going on in my life. And so you got to cut those out. Number 3, you've got to build yourself a business plan. See, I looked at trading as, I'm going to hit some buttons, learn some steps, I'm going to make some money. But trading is a business. You are the CEO of what now is a small business that you want to be a bigger business. So if you are the CEO of your enterprise, how would you start? Imagine going to a bank and asking for a $5 million loan for your trading business or whatever. Would you just get that loan, or would they ask you some questions? Would you actually have to have a business plan? So each one of you here, you're potentially the CEO of your new $5 million a year trading business. How would you go about and attack it? The things that you have to do start now, and you have to build upon it. Everything has a process in trading. Think about trading as like building a cookbook. You have your different trading setups. Each one is a recipe. You ever read a cookbook? You want to bake a cake? There's like 25 fucking things in there, right? Pinch of this, salt this, sugar this, blah, blah, blah. If you miss one single thing in that recipe, what happens? Your cake tastes like dog shit. And trading is the same way. If you're missing one ingredient in your setup, one small thing in your setup, that trade is a loser. So imagine now you're going into a trade, some of you guys, do you know every single thing about your setup? I know about mine. That's where you got to go with this. Build yourself a recipe. You have to understand and know all the angles. That's a huge part of the thing, right? You have to build yourself a playbook of go-to setups. I learned that from Mr. Mike in his playbook book. You've got to build yourself a list of go-to setups that you can rely on every single day that you have complete mastery over. This is a monstrous thing because, once again, if you're a generalist in trading and you're just throwing money around, you try all this stuff, you will not make money, okay? So building out your business is the hugest, most important part of the thing that you're going to do. So now what comes next? You've got all this stuff. You've rested. You built yourself a business plan. Now you got to go and do it. That's going to be painful, isn't it? Because you're going to be excited, and guess what's going to happen? You're going to get knocked down right away again. Do you fall back into your old habits? Or do you look at the pain and embrace it and say, you know what? This pain, this uncomfortable moment, this is what gives me my power, right? Your pain and your suffering, that's your story. situations in my trading, those painful moments, I wilted from it. I would drink or I would do this. I would get my mind off of it rather than embracing it and understanding it, because that pain is your story, right? What you see when a man is on a stage is a finished project. It's a finished product. But before that, there's all of this stuff that goes on, right? That pain is the building block for your success. Okay, so embrace it. Understand and learn the process and respect it, because guess what? Once you come through that and your life is at that crossroads and you make the right choice and you hit it the right way, anything can happen. I hit that moment. 2 short years later, I started Bulls on Wall Street. 3 short years later, I crossed up every single one of that fucking things on that goal list, and here we are a decade later. Thank you.
One more big round of applause for all of the TraderTalks. Lunch is hot and ready right now.